Hello. Hey guys, welcome in. Welcome to stream. Who's excited to paint backgrounds here? Welcome. Let's see. Hey Darren, welcome. Thank you for those of you who are here early. We are going to be painting an Adventure Time background in an impressionistic style, which is going to be really fun. And before we do that, though, let's chit chat and just wait for people to trickle in. I know it's a Monday night, and I don't know about you guys, but I love Mondays. Mondays, I feel like it's always the most productive day of the week. And if you guys have been putting off painting backgrounds, it's definitely going to be something that we're going to be working on tonight. And also, we've been working on it the whole month. This entire month has been dedicated to backgrounds. But yeah, if this is your first time here at Wing Canvas, our mission is to make art education easily accessible to everyone. So of course you can join us for free live stream lessons on YouTube every week and level up your skills with our community of art nerds. And we're more than just a YouTube channel. We're an online school of illustration and visual storytelling dedicated to helping you turn your passion into income. A huge shout out to our amazing students and members for supporting our mission. We love seeing your incredible artwork and watching you grow in our classes and weekly critiques. So if you want to dive deeper, join our Discord to access our stream notes and demos, exclusive artwork, art challenges. Some of them are going to be showcased tonight, and more free resources to help you improve. So come connect with fellow art nerds and get inspired. All right, so let's start off with submissions. So this month, our challenge is scenic sketches. So if you haven't submitted your landscape paintings, please join our Discord, or you can tag us on Instagram at Wing Canvas and submit your monthly challenge. If you submit your artwork, then you would get a chance to be featured on our stream. So this month we want to see your scenic sketches. We want to see the backgrounds that you've made for your wonderful characters. And we have some really cool backgrounds today. So one of the most difficult subjects to paint are clouds. So let me know in the chat if you have trouble painting clouds. We're going to work on some clouds today, but yeah, some of these are breathtaking. Like this one by the Goat 07. Shout out to this artist who did this landscape. Didn't think it was going to be much, but ended up really liking it, and I think this is absolutely beautiful. You've captured the light in the clouds beautifully, and it's a lovely painting. So congrats to the Goat 07S. Our next submission, you're gonna notice a pattern here, is another cloud piece. Umi the Bloody Bread Wizard. Yeah, super fluffy clouds. I recognize these clouds. I feel like they were in Howl's Moving Castle or something. Like I feel like I've seen these ginormous clouds so far, but yeah, also very breathtaking, beautifully done, and love the bread wizard himself. I think is in the scene. So great job. Great job, Umi the Bloody Bread Wizard. Thanks for submitting. And last but not least, Sambug 1618. Sambug, let me know if you're in the chat. This piece, again, so many. I chose 3 cloud pieces because I just feel like clouds are something that gives a lot of artists a lot of grief, right? Like, especially with digital. And so I think you did a really, really nice job here. And I actually have it zoomed in because there's a little character in here that I don't want everybody to miss. There's a little certain spaceship in there. Cool stuff. Beautifully done. And thank you for submitting. There's still a chance to be featured because September isn't quite over yet. But yeah, I hope everybody is enjoying the first day of fall and enjoying the beautiful change in seasons and the leaves. So I know that this month I'm going to be doing a lot of painting, doing some camping and doing some painting and taking advantage of the leaves changing. My favorite time of year. Welcome in Half Piece 88 and Castle. Nice to see you, and CC. All right, guys. So let's get started with our stream. Today we're going to be recreating this Adventure Time scene, but in the style of Van Gogh. So Van Gogh, everybody's favorite Impressionist. Let's just pull up a Van Gogh piece just so we can really study it in detail here. Yeah, this piece here. So this landscape with rolling hills and beautiful brushstrokes and the impasto style that we love Van Gogh for. You know what I really loved about Van Gogh's pieces is that he's really not afraid to use color. He uses color in his line art. You know, I very rarely see Van Gogh's later pieces with black line. It's always using really vivid colored lines. He uses blue in tree trunks, like bright blue, you know, this beautiful ultramarine color. Really, really lovely use of ochres. And I'm just nerding out to this piece right now because, like, if you zoom in and have a look at just how delicious his brushstrokes are, it's almost like somebody iced a cake, right? He paints with oils almost like somebody would with icing. And it's just very decadent kind of paint style that I really love. And if you guys have ever painted grass and had trouble painting grass or had trouble making it feel natural, this is kind of the way you would do it, right? This is the sort of mix of the organic greens, so from the olive greens to the ochres to the Naples yellow here, and some of the like desaturated greens to the really, really bright turquoise hints in here. So really, really nicely harmonized to look natural. So enough nerding out to this. I'm gonna turn that off now, and let's start to recreate this Adventure Time scene. So part of why I really like Rebelle, this program that I'm using right now, part of the reason I like it is because it allows me to really, really mimic oils. And I haven't actually found a program yet that would let me do that. So I don't actually use Rebelle to paint a lot. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of experimenting today. So it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna figure it out as I go. Right now I'm just kind of sketching out some of the hills in the scene, and I'm going to be working really big. So I know in my last stream, if you guys joined, I recreated one of my older paintings, one of my oil paintings. But I thought it would be fun to paint in a cartoon style today. So if you're drawing along with me, let me know what program you're using. Yeah, Rebelle 7, let me drop a link in the chat here. There, that's it. So Rebelle 8 is actually out as well, but I haven't actually tried it yet. I'm still using Rebelle 7, but I do plan on using the new version soon. I haven't heard of it either until recently. Probably about last year I started trying it, and I actually really like it. I mean, there are some things that I'd have to get used to, like one of the things is you know how there's blending modes, right? Like every single layer has a blending mode. Well, with Rebelle, it's kind of like the mediums interact with each other. So it's kind of weird because everything is like automatically reactive. So for example, if you paint watercolor, right, it's going to drip. And you can control the amount it drips. And if you use oil, then you can have impasto, right, on the oil itself, which is really cool. The only thing that I'm still getting used to is that like I can't use the pen tool without it multiplying with a layer below. So I'm still kind of getting used to using a digital medium and having it behave as if it's a traditional. So that has been a little bit challenging. But other than that, it's been really fun. Is this program free? No, it's not free, but it's not expensive either. It's not like a monthly subscription or anything like that. What's that background called? I'm not sure if it has a name, but this is the Adventure Time, one of the Adventure Time wallpapers that I found. So I really love the style of Adventure Time. I'll admit I haven't actually been able to watch the entire series yet, but it's on my list. I've always been really drawn to the style of Adventure Time. I find that it's just so fun and quirky, and you know, I love cartoon styles that sort of don't take itself too seriously. And it reminds me actually of almost of Looney Tunes. So guys, I put out a poll. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Where's my poll? Here. So I put out a poll a couple days ago, and I asked you guys, all our subscribers, what style of background they want me to recreate in an Impressionist style. And Adventure Time swept. It just cleaned up. I was actually hoping to do some kind of like futuristic scene, so like Futurama or something, but it didn't get any love. The Futurama got no love. Just the Adventure Time cleaned up. So that's what we're doing today. If you haven't voted on our polls, you can just subscribe to the channel and you will see our our polls. We put them up about a couple days before the stream, so you guys get a chance to let us know what you want to see us draw. That's always fun. It's always fun to get like an unexpected challenge from our fans. And as I'm doing this, I'm kind of like thinking to myself, okay, how would Van Gogh paint this? If we were to go back in time, Impressionism came out. It was sort of a movement, the late 1800s, early 1900s. The Impressionist movement was very ahead of its time. So I think Van Gogh made the bulk of his work in 1889. 1889, and this was just a few years after tubed paint was invented. Okay, so picture this. Before tube paint was invented, artists had to mix their own pigments, so they'd have to go to like the apothecary, and then they would have to buy powdered pigments and then take it home and mix it with linseed oil and then put it in these little jars and hope that they don't run out. So they weren't really able to paint outside. They were really limited to what they could do. And so life looked very different for artists back then. And the Impressionist movement really allowed artists to start painting outside and to paint more more from observation. Because back then, right, the only way you could paint from observation is to draw on location, then bring it into the studio and recreate it from the studio. So art history can be really fun. You know, it can be really fun because you learn what sparks different movements. And it's funny because, like, you know, photography sort of sparked modern art, like the modern art movement. Before, it was like, you know, you had to commission a portrait artist to hopefully paint a flattering photo of you, or to paint a flattering, not photo, portrait of you. Like, you'd have to sit, right, for somebody to like paint a picture of you, and they had to be really good, otherwise it may not turn out very good. And then photography changed that. So with the invention of photography, right, people had to, that led to the Expressionism movement and many other things. The Impressionism movement, suddenly people valued self-expression a lot more. And, you know, in our era, right, we've got AI. How's that going to change art? Maybe it's going to make people humans are going to appreciate humans a lot more. I think handmade things are going to be more in demand, more coveted, because when things are available so easily, it kind of makes handmade things a lot more desirable. So we are living in a really interesting time. I'm just very interested to see how art is going to evolve again, what movements are going to evolve as like a byproduct of all this technology. But super interesting. Just catching up with chat. Oh, you have Harriet says I have something to do, but I don't want to miss the stream. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'll be streaming for about 2 hours. And if you can't stay, then you can always catch the replay. All good. So anyway, here I am, giving you guys a history lesson. That was unintentional, but I just think Impressionism is, you know, lots of people think it's just a style, but all art movements had a catalyst. Like a lot of art movements had catalysts, right? So kind of like abstract expressionism. Maybe the catalyst was photography. And art having a different purpose. So what I really like about Adventure Time style is that it's so like it's dimensional, yet it's flat. Like it just feels it feels very whimsical, and it's got lovely shape language as well. Just really, really well thought out landscapes. What I actually don't really like about the example though are that the mountains are really kind of competing with the tree here, the tree house, their home base. So what I think I'm gonna do is make it smaller so that it doesn't compete as much. Just visually, because I think the example that I found was actually a wallpaper. I'm gonna put the mountains back here. And maybe we'll put some clouds kind of down here, and then some mountains peeking back. So there was a group of artists called the Group of Seven. They're a group of plein air artists based in Canada, with I think Lauren Harris was one of them, and Carmichael. Anyway, this group of artists, this group of seven, they went on these painting excursions together, and they worked in a similar style, and it was very like cartoony. So they were known for, you know, simplifying trees and natural elements to almost be like a cartoony style. And so this kind of reminds me of that, or I think this painting is going to remind me a lot of the style of the Group of Seven. I like how the clouds are kind of strange and long, kind of like fingers. And I like how the mountains have little faces on them. So I'm really gonna play up the fun shapes in the clouds, but also like not getting too carried away because I don't have that much time to finish this scene here. All right. Hey, Kenny, welcome in. Haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, if you want to submit your background pieces and you can't use Discord or you're not on Discord, you can always tag us on Instagram. We love seeing your artwork and cheering you on. So Instagram @WingCanvas. Or Discord. Our team pretty much lives on Discord, so that's where you're going to find the Wing Canvas fam and our wonderful student community. All right, so let's put in this house. Just curious how many Adventure Time fans we have here tonight. Let me know in the chat. I'm right now working my way through Delicious in Dungeon. That's like the the show that I'm investing time into right now. Adventure Time is like, I've wanted to watch it for years, and we have a problem, guys, that I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I spend more time figuring out what I'm going to watch than I actually spend time watching stuff. There's just like, there's too many shows, and I have lists upon lists of things that I want to watch, and then I spend like maybe 40 minutes deciding and then like 20 minutes watching the show, and then by that time I'm tired and I'm going to bed. That was never the case before. Like, I remember when I was a kid, and I might be dating myself here, but you could watch, you had no choice. Like, I had no choice in what to watch. When I was a kid, it was literally like, whatever's on TV is what you get to watch. And that's it. Like, there was no YouTube, there was no Netflix, there's no selection. No watch lists, no recommended. It was just whatever was on, you know? And like Saturday was just a lot of Looney Tunes. And I think if I got lucky, there was like Rugrats or The Simpsons on TV or something like that. But yeah, it was dismal, guys. We are living in like this is like the best time to be a creator is today. Just because there's just so many shows. We can't I have anxiety thinking about my list and wanting to get through all these shows before new ones come out. Yeah, and then you watch something you already watched 1,000 times. Yeah, welcome in, Big Snake Boss. One of our awesome students. Nice to see you. Yeah, I know, right? It's so crazy that there's just like so much stuff. So much stuff. So I'm not actually completely following the reference picture. I'm just looking for elements and then just putting stuff where I want, wherever I think is gonna be interesting. I know there's like a little fire pit, and I'm thinking like, how would Van Gogh paint this fire pit? Right, like some like little cactus. Like shrubs coming through. You guys are rewatchers, eh? Okay, so what are you rewatching? I'm interested. And Castle, I've never seen Violet Evergarden. I wish I had more time to watch shows. I really do. I feel like I don't have much time at all anymore these days to watch shows. So Although I rewatched Ratatouille again for like the probably the 5th time, maybe the 6th time. Such a good movie. And every time I watch it, I notice something even more delightful and just really appreciate the animation. One of my favorite Disney films. And I didn't know, but actually Brad Bird was one of the writers and the director. He also directed The Incredibles. So, didn't know that, but extremely talented guy. And when I was a kid, I 100% wanted to work for Pixar. So, anyway. Okay, I think this is enough detail. I usually don't do this much detail when I'm drawing. I got a little bit carried away. I should use a gray background. Oh, I'm not going to use a gray background. I'm going to tone my canvas. This is just a line drawing on top. But I find gray backgrounds are good for things like characters and such. But I find gray backgrounds really boring for landscapes. I mean, unless you're painting like a gloomy day, then totally. But this is just my line drawing, just my sketch, because there's going to be no lines in this piece. And let's create a new layer, and I'm going to call this the tone. So this tone is going to go underneath my line layer or my sketch layer. Oh. So with Rebelle, which is the program I'm using, there's oils and there's express oils. So I looked it up before the stream, and express oils is just like a little bit more simple. So the other oils, the other oil brush has more texture, but express oils is just like a flatter type of brush. So what I'm gonna do is first I'm going to tone the canvas with this lovely pink color. It's a little laggy because there's a lot of information being processed with the brush strokes here. And then normally I would kind of tone the canvas in like all one color. But I feel like this piece lends itself to a multicolor background. So I'm just going to start to lay that in. And then remember, you can always change the color afterwards, but I like this idea of creating this sort of gentle fade in the sky. In no particular order, I just like starting with a tone and even having some texture in there, so it's like not completely smooth. And then shifting more towards the yellow. To kind of get this sunset-y color. So I've always been a traditional artist first. And so I know that like with traditional and digital, they're very different processes, but with Rebelle, there's a little bit of overlap, which is actually quite interesting. So if I was painting this this is more of an acrylic process, right? Because with acrylics, it's it's a lot more painting in layers, kind of blocking stuff in. So instead of, let's try it now. Yeah, so this one doesn't leave any texture, which is fine. Just color shift a little bit. I'm kind of trying out the different brushes just to see what it looks like and what it feels like. But my goal is to really cover the entire background as much as I can. And for parts that are a little bit more smooth, right, I can just use the lasso tool here. Whoops. There we go. And color shift again. So generally speaking, things that are in the background are lighter, right, than things that are in the foreground. So as you get into the background, you can get a little bit lighter. However, I think with a sunset scene like this, everything is kind of backlit. So it may make more sense for this lighting to kind of be just along the edge of the hills. So like that. You wanted to always learn Impressionism art. Great. So yeah, sit-ups are great. Any kind of exercise before you draw is great. I find that it helps me a lot when it comes to really just my energy levels. Like, I just had dinner before this, so I have plenty of energy level, and I don't want to do any jumping jacks or anything because, you know, I don't want my dinner to make a reappearance. But usually, like, when you're sitting by a desk, at a desk for so long, it's a really good idea to move around. I'm excited about skating, actually. Skating season is upon us, at least where I am in Canada. Really excited for a season of ice. All right. So you can kind of see what I'm trying to do right now is just start to block in some of the colors. I do use the lasso tool a lot to really help me figure out, you know, my big picture. And when it comes to painting quickly, right, sometimes you just have to block stuff in. And it's like a really quick way of seeing if you like it or not. Because a lot of the times, like, we may just zoom in a ton, right? I do this a lot. Like, I zoom in and then I get really stuck on the details, and before I know it, I've already spent all this time and haven't really made much of a difference. So stay zoomed out and just focus on blocking in your shapes before anything else. So here I'm just kind of blocking in the mountains. Right? Just getting my flat shapes in. Of course, Van Gogh didn't have the lasso tool, you know, so I'm doing my best here, but quite a different process. Now imagine if Van Gogh had an iPad. Oh. If he had an iPad, what would happen? And if I was painting this traditionally, I would be using a totally different process. Thanks, Jaren. Jaren and I have been on the ice together. Jaren, I'm looking forward to skating with you. It's gonna be a fun season. I actually learned how to skate pretty late in life, but I love it. And the more I do it, the more I like it. I hear a lot of my students are like, oh, I wish I started art a little earlier in life. You know, I know people who started art when they were like 4 years old, and I feel like it's too late. I'm like, it's never too late. Never too late. Never too late to learn something new. All right. So let's add in the shapes of the trees. So like the first 80% of this painting is really just going to be me lassoing stuff and painting in the shapes. I find that way I don't need to outline, right? Because I've kind of selected my area, and then I can just kind of focus on filling it in and the color of it all, right? I don't really need to worry about the other stuff. And I don't have to worry about coloring out of the lines because I'm going to do this pretty much all on one layer, hopefully. I mean, my sketch is on a different layer, but I'm not gonna use too many layers. And we'll see how that goes. So let's choose a color for the tree. Sometimes I feel like with digital painting, it's like too easy. You just get to choose from a color picker. Like, think about the Impressionists. They had to be fighting the wind. You know, their stuff's blowing everywhere. They have to paint as fast as they can because the sun's changing. And here we are, digital artists with our Control Z and our air conditioning and our lasso tool. When I'm painting plein air, there's bugs that land on my painting. Sometimes it starts raining. Like, it's an adventure. Quite an adventure. Nothing like the comforts of drawing on a tablet. All right, so we got my trees. Let's see. Now we're gonna do the tree trunks. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna create a new layer with the trees in case I want to do the control alpha or the lock transparency trick. Do you guys know I did digital art for like probably 10 years, and I never used the I never used the lock transparency. Like, I didn't even know it existed. It was insane. I was like, where was I the last you know, so many years? What happened? Where did I how did I miss the memo on that? So, gotta take full advantage of it now that I know how to use it. Okay, so I think the rest I'm just gonna start to paint in with a brush. So I think it's okay for this painting to be slightly messy, because I think with Impressionist paintings, they are kind of fast and furious, and really no time to doubt your artwork or go back on things, and really just to kind of trust the process, trust your gut, trust your eyes to make the right decision and not worry too much about it, and just kind of enjoy the process. I'm also gonna try to not use any blend modes, and really just try and not rely so much on digital hacks, but instead really just try to observe and see what I can do by just kind of feeling it out. The reason why, like, there are so many incredible digital tools at our disposal. Like, if you watch Iggy's video, I think it was a CSP video, but it was all about digital hacks that you could do. I learned so much from that video, just reviewing it and working on it behind the scenes. It's like, wow, I didn't even know that all of these things existed. But you know, when you really go down and go back to basics, I think it's important to learn things like how to mix color, you know, traditionally, and how to not rely on those tools so that you won't be afraid to try traditional paints someday. I got a bunch of digital artists taking my traditional painting class, and it's a lot of fun. Because I think a lot of the stuff translates as well. All on one layer. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that actually happens or not. I might have to I might have to go on separate layers, but we'll see. I'm gonna try to do it all on one. But even when I'm painting, you know, my own pieces, I tend to block stuff in before I do any finessing. It's because, like, if you can't see the big picture, no amount of finessing is going to do anything. Like, it's not going to make it better, right? So if you want to move the needle, right, if you want to get better at your artwork, at your composition, like, the thing to change really is your composition, is the big picture. Because again, no amount of fussing is gonna make it better, sadly. So you might as well zoom way out and just kind of like focus on the big picture. So I'm just focusing right now. I will catch up with chat in a little bit. Let me know if you're painting along with me, if you're just watching, what you're doing on this lovely Monday night. And if you want to try Rebelle, because it's a really cool program. It's actually quite fun to work with. It's very simple and pretty easy to use. Wait till I use some of those textured brushes. Oh, it's gonna be so fun. So this is gonna be really loose. And if you want to get really good at mixing color, even if it's digital, right? You don't use the color picker. Like, try to find the color of your reference by just like guessing it, right? Just like try a couple things. Like, that's way too saturated. Try a couple things. Try guessing the color without having to rely on the color picker all the time. That really gets you to test things out. See, drawing these trees on a separate layer already messed me up. But luckily I can erase stuff. What you want to do when you're painting like impressionist landscapes, or even concept art, because concept art can be very impressionistic, very loose, and it's almost like intuitive. It's almost like you're squinting and visualizing something that's like not quite super clear, but it's like a, you know, you get the idea of what's happening without all of those details. And I think that's super cool to be able to visualize like that. Like, I know for some people can be really good at remembering stuff. Like, some people have a really, really good memory or visual library. I do too, but I don't have a photographic memory, and I really admire the people who do, because then they're really able to make stuff up a lot easier than I can, right? I still have to kind of, like, I can tell if something looks off, especially with faces and anatomy and stuff. But when it comes to, like, you know, just drawing things out of my head, I find it a little bit more challenging. Like, I have trouble remembering, like, what does this look like, or what does this specific texture look like? Unless I'm drawing it all the time, it gets to be a little bit tricky. Like, I can't remember it off the top of my head. So like the more you draw, the more of this visual library you'll start to build up. Let's do a multiply. There we go. And Castle's also painting digitally. Good. If you squint, oh, thanks, Jaren. Yeah, if you squint, you can kind of see that it is sort of looking like the picture, right? Just very, very roughly. So that's kind of my goal right now, is just to block stuff in so that it's very rough. Now I'm going to try a different oil brush just to kind of experiment with the texture. So this is a thick texture. And let's go back to the tone. And I'm going to create... No, I'm going to work on the same layer. I was like, see, I don't know about you guys, but being a traditional artist, I find having to navigate through lots of layers to be super annoying. Like, I just want to, I just want my stuff to have one layer. Check out this texture though. Like, how cool is this? This is where Rebelle gets super fun. Right, you get lots of texture that you can start to lay up. Just make my brush bigger. And then the texture interacts with the texture below it, which can look so cool once it's done. So the best part about Rebelle is the texture. I'm going to put a link again if you want to check out the software. Here you go. Yeah, Rebelle 7. They actually sponsor our artists. And Josh uses Rebelle. I use Rebelle. I'm not sure if Jesse or Iggy have tried it. I know Jesse uses Photoshop. Iggy is a Clip Studio Paint guy. Josh uses like a million programs. I think he's tried all of them. And I am not program loyal. I used Photoshop for years and years. And then I use Medibang mostly to teach because it's a free program. It's very accessible. So I used it for a bit. It was good. I didn't love it, but it was actually a great program for being free. Like, it had some ads, but it was awesome for what it was. And what else did I use? Then I used Krita, because Krita can just do a lot more. Like, I think Krita allows me to, also it allows for animation, which is really cool. I've never actually used it for animation, but like I use Krita for when I do critiques and draw overs for our students. Because it's a little challenging to do critiques with Rebelle, actually. All All right, let's add some texture to the trees. Okay. Okay, and then let's add some of this green. So we'll go back to... Did I save these colors? I don't think so. Let's go back to that green. And start to blend in some of these colors. Oh, so cool. So fun. And then a brighter green. So like, let's get real bright here. So yeah, love Rebelle for the texture. Even, I think I did a car stream using Rebelle, and it looked so similar to pencil. It's like the only software that I really like the pencil tool. It feels like a pencil. It has a beautiful texture, and I like the pencil tool over all the other pencil tools in different programs. It's just lovely. So yeah, give it a try if you like this kind of stuff. Give it a try, have fun, see what happens. I think a lot of the fun and the joy in painting also happens when you're not expecting it to happen, and you're kind of just you're just figuring it out, and then happy accidents happen, and it's a really cool surprise, because, you know, it's like you thought it was gonna be a mistake, but it actually ended up looking really cool. Or you had to make a decision where, you know, you weren't really sure if it's gonna turn out, and then you do it anyway. Don't take it too seriously, and then it looks great. So I'm gonna zoom in here to the Van Gogh piece. I'm so excited to start putting some of these textures on the hills, but first I gotta focus on the mountains, kind of getting the texture on the mountains right before I jump to the hills. And then also keeping my lighting in mind. The light is sort of coming from the middle. Yeah, Procreate is actually great too. Like if you're on the iPad, I've heard really good things. I know a lot of professional illustrators, artists who use Procreate. I've heard lots of good things. Personally, I am not an iPad owner. I did use an iPad at some point in my life, but my partner is very he's kind of an Apple hater. Sorry. So he convinced me. It was like it was one of the biggest debates in our relationship, because when we met, he was like, I loved Apple, everything Apple, and then I got schooled. So now because he's also my tech support, I had to switch, and it's been okay. I have never gone back. So Despite how lovely my computer used to look. And I did have like the first gen, I think, of iPad. But alas, as an art student, you need your Macs. But I think PCs are just so much more affordable. You can modify it. You can kind of do whatever you want. There's a lot less restrictions on it. So, yeah. Android versus Apple couple. Oh, we are no longer an Android versus Apple. We are an Android family. There's some battles that I can choose, but I gotta pick my battles. When you marry your tech support, you gotta pick your battles. All right. So let's get these snowy topped mountains in here. I feel like they're too pronounced, but I'll fix it later. It's really hard, you know, to focus on big picture stuff, I find. So sometimes I just have to force myself to leave it. Because what I might feel is like a big deal right now, right? I might be like, oh, I really hate what I just did, or, you know, like that. I hated that. But luckily I have Control Z. But sometimes, you know, you just kind of just leave it and then see if you still hate it as much when you have more of the details in. Because sometimes tunnel vision will affect a lot of the decisions that you might make. So like I thought, okay, the mountains are kind of too white. So then I can go in and add some gray to it, or go in and choose a different texture. And then also I can kind of use different brush strokes going in different directions, and I think that's going to solve some of the problems or some of the issues here with the mountains. And then if I turn off my sketch layer, you can kind of see that it all comes together nicely. I can't believe this is one layer. What if you need to move something later? Well, I kind of ask myself, what if I was painting this on a canvas? Like, I have no choice. I just have one layer. Like, what then, right? I just don't give myself that option. And if I have to change something, well, I gotta repaint it. That is kind of scary, but sometimes you gotta do what's uncomfortable to grow. Hey, Ivan, welcome in. Ivan, another lovely student. Why is that doing that? Am I on what? Why is it adding this texture? Well, that's weird. I want this purple color. Okay. Let's see. Let's do flat dry. Oh, okay, because I have it on paint and mix. So let's just put it on paint. Yeah, it's because my trees are on a different layer. See? All right, it's getting merged. There, now everything is on one layer. I should rename this color instead of tone. Okay. Yeah, see, when I use too many layers, it just ends up confusing me, and I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute, that's not what I wanted. So putting everything on one layer is actually kind of liberating for me personally. Ooh, that's not, do not like that. Back to my thick brush. Like a thick brush with lots of paint. I think if you if digital art was your first medium, let me know, guys, in the chat. Was digital art your first medium? If it is, then you're probably gonna have trouble working on one layer, because you've kind of just always painted on so many layers that it's like exceptionally scary to just paint on one layer. But if you're a traditional artist, yeah, if you're a traditional artist, then you know, you probably are not as scared. But it's very easy to get used to the ease, right? The ease of different layers. And like, I worked as a designer in packaging for very briefly in my life. And I remember getting a juice box illustration. This was probably 2007, 2006. I can't even remember. It was a long time ago. And I got this juice box. I was working for Cadbury, you know, the chocolate company. Yeah, I got lots of free chocolate. It was great. But anyway, they owned a line of, it was Cadbury Schweppes, and then they owned a line of these juices, like Snapple, iced teas, and a whole bunch of different juices. And so I had to do some artwork for a juice box, and I got this file that took me 1,000,000 years to open, and it had literally 300 layers of rendering and effects, and like I was just, it was so slow, and I was like, why did this artist need 300 layers? It wasn't like we were animating the fruit on the juice box. It was absolutely insane to me, just unnecessary. Then of course the project took 10 times longer because the file was so big. So I don't know. I guess the older I get, the more of a fan I am of just simplicity. Like, if you can keep things simple, it's like a breath of fresh air for me personally. Like there's absolutely no need for 300 layers. Why? Like, yeah. And the poor team, because if you create an illustration that has all those layers and different effects, and especially if you're working in a team, right? Like a lot of animators do, they have to work in a team. So you better be naming all those layers and grouping them and organizing them. Like, I can understand with animation, right? I can understand why you would have different layers, because obviously you got to animate it and make it easy for, you know, especially background elements and stuff, right? But if you're just creating a flat illustration, guys, like, why take up all that room on your hard drive? Hundreds of layers. Yeah, hundreds of layers, artists. Oh, Ivan. Oh. Merge those layers. Be brave. Just do it. No, I'm kidding. You can work however you want. It's just me. I'm just not a fan. Okay. Yeah, the only saving grace is really my sketch layer, which I can turn off. I can turn that off. And when I turn it off, I realize how sharp my lines are. Like these trees, way too sharp, right? Way too sharp. So let's fix that. Let's get a real big brush out here and just fix it, because trees are soft. Trees are not hard surfaces, especially this type of tree. Like this type of tree is I think it's a willow tree. I gotta learn the shortcut for this. Okay. Yeah, trees are soft, so I'm gonna go in and soften those. I think about that juice box artist and I still curse him, even to this day. Like, he thought he was doing me a favor, but the project took like 5 hours longer because I was spending 3 hours just digging through the layers and cursing. Yep. It's cool if you don't share your file with anybody, but otherwise that's just mean. Okay, what's next? I guess I should paint these hills. Let's pull up the Van Gogh reference and start to put some texture in. My favorite part. Hey Kevin, welcome in. Thank you. Yeah, I'm liking how it looks. I mean, I had no expectations for this. I was just like, I'm gonna see what it's gonna look like. This is actually my first time using these brushes and actually doing a finished painting in Rebelle. I think I painted my dog once just as an experiment, but I never actually committed to finishing a piece. So, whoops. So yeah, my first Rebelle painting. Not too bad right now, but we'll see. Okay, so I'm not sticking to the colors in the Adventure Time example because I wanted to put more texture in the grass. So I need to shift my hues a lot. And because the background that I put in is kind of flat, it's still letting some of those colors show through, but maybe not as not as much variety as I had initially planned. And I just messed up my palette there. What did I do? Ah, here. There's my tools. Okay, so I'm just gonna reorganize this. There we go. All right. So you can color shift pretty easily while sort of maintaining the same values, right? The same tone. So like for this one, I can basically like put in some different types of greens. And I think Van Gogh uses a lot of ochre, like ochre colors, so going into those rich yellows. Did you guys know that there's a lot of orange in grass? Like, I meet a lot of digital artists, especially like new digital artists, who are like, oh, I need this grass brush. Like, I need this brush to paint grass. I was like, excuse me? What? No, you don't. You don't need a brush. You don't need a special brush to paint grass. It's all about the variety and the colors. And, you know, like that stuff is a lot more important than having a grass brush. A grass brush is kind of a cop-out, actually. It's like, if you have to rely on a brush, on a specific brush to paint grass, that's not really getting better. Right? That's relying on tools that you don't need. Okay, so it looks like the majority of you use 1,000,000 layers. Yeah, if you do have the ability to use layers, you might as well use them. That's a good point. Definitely a good point. This is just my preference, actually. I'm not saying not to use it, because you guys use whatever you need to use. Everybody's process is different, which is why which is why like art is so cool, is because, you know, you can get a very similar result using different tools as well, so it's kind of cool. I've seen, you know, like Iggy, for example, uses a lot of layers, and I'm just like, whoa, how does he not draw on the wrong layer like I do so many times? And I know Jesse uses more simplified layers. I know Iggy knows all these cool effects, and I just kind of I used to use 1,000,000 layers, but then it just made my file size really big, and then I found that I spent a lot of time organizing and like going through them, and I just like painting. Like, I just like making pictures, so if I don't need to use them, I try not to rely on them too heavily. Okay, so I need to put some rhythm in the sky, because the sky looks a little bit, again, it looks a little bit too hard. The edges look a little too hard, so with Impressionist style, all the colors sort of blend into each other, right? There's a little bit of this nuance and blending where the strokes sort of overlap, right? There's some more broken lines, and then I can get really great in here. And I can work seeing a little peek of that sun. Ivan, yeah, I'm totally calling you out on the grass brush. It's okay. If I had never you know what? Okay. I have also tried using a grass brush because my first experience with digital art was like, oh, look at all these stamps. Like, this is so cool. I can draw a bunch of stars, and I can draw I can draw grass, and I can do a bunch of leaves with, like, that's really not painting. It's stamping, right? Which is fine. Like, stamping is fine. It's kind of like mixed media. It's just, I find it actually just too limiting for me, for my preference. It's not like, you know, if I was illustrating a comic or something very repetitive, and I wanted to recreate the same type of texture, I would probably be okay with using some stamp tools. Like, I know you can create your own brushes, your own textures, and I've done that before, especially with like graphic designs and stuff, right? I've definitely used stamps in that way, but I don't really, I still kind of see them as stamps instead of brushes, but maybe I'm just a little bit biased, and I've never actually bought any brushes. I've always just made it work with default brushes. I've never felt the need to buy brushes. So yeah, do some traditional art, guys. I think traditional art can, you know, allow you to be more comfortable making mistakes and then improvising, right? And that process of improvising can be so fun and very different than planning everything out, coloring everything, having Control Z as your backup plan, right? There's nothing kind of unexpected that results in something really cool looking. Like, again, that layer of improv, I think, is really fun. Yeah, I mean, if you can get the brushes for free, why not? It's fun to try. Always fun to try new things. I'm still mostly a traditional artist, so, you know, that's why this is kind of like a big experiment. There, I did the Control Z thing. I exercised my digital freedom. Also, one thing, if you're painting either traditionally or digitally, if you use bigger brushes, you're gonna paint way faster and almost more bold, more appealing, because you have to be more accurate / strategic with your skills, right? So it's not like you use a small brush and make a million strokes to then try to get what you want, but it's more like doing it once, right? In the right spot. And then kind of trusting that it will work. And not overthinking too much. Oh my gosh, overthinking is like the #1 reason paintings look overworked. It makes sense, right? Like if you're thinking too much about it, too much about something, then you're going back on your decisions. That uncertainty translates into your work. And I've definitely felt that way multiple times, where I can't decide on something, and then I go back and forth, and then I erase a whole bunch of times, and then my painting ends up looking very uncertain. Right? You kind of channel that energy in your work. And if you're thinking, well, how do I not overwork stuff? I'm new, right? I've never done this before. It's actually quite difficult for me not to overthink it. I think part of it is trusting the process, like not giving up even when it looks ugly. There's been so many times, and I'm doing this live, guys. You get to see it. You get to see the ugly stages live, but you know, if you when you're working on stuff, a lot of the times it's going to be ugly. Like there's parts that don't look right. There can be parts that you just dislike, or you're not really sure if it's working. And trusting the process is hard to do, right? Because you're doubting yourself. And I think that self-doubt is so tough. It's so tough to deal with. But I think it's that the strength in overcoming that, which makes it so much more rewarding in the end. Like when you do a piece that you really love, but the struggle was so real, right? in it. But it ends up being really satisfying in the end. Darren, are you painting along with me? Or are you talking about my process for the sky? Just curious. Yeah, right? Like sometimes I do something and I'm like, I'm not sure if that's gonna work. But sometimes I just like intentionally leave it, because when I leave it, I'm just like, okay, I'll fix it later. I'm gonna move on to other parts that need more attention, because if I only have 2 hours, right, I gotta focus on the big picture. So sometimes setting a timer can be really helpful too, because when you have infinite amounts of time, then you just have infinite amounts of time to nitpick and to, right, to not really get things done. But if you're working in the industry, or if you, right, like if you're working on a commission, then You gotta work fast. You're not painting, just watching. That's cool. No, I am not offended at all. Don't worry. I might be weird, but I actually really enjoy painting live. Because I don't know, like I feel like it when I'm painting with others, it's a lot I'm trying to describe it. It's kind of like sometimes I'll be painting somewhere and then there's like a bunch of people behind me watching me. And in the beginning it would kind of be a little unnerving, but then I kind of let it energize me, right? And I enjoy it because I feel like I paint faster and I get more done because I'm there on location and I have to focus, and I can sometimes feel kind of people standing behind me and breathing. But I think I trained myself to be less anxious. I did a lot of caricatures because I wanted to be able to paint live and not be fazed by the reactions of other people. And I think doing that really helped me grow as an artist because it helped me not feel judged all the time, really. Yeah, totally. It feels less lonely. Especially because the people watching you aren't judging you. They're just like, wow, how are you doing that? Right? So that part is fun. Just feeling appreciated and not doing it alone. Yeah, totally. All right, let's put some cactus in here. Let's see. Whoop. Whoop. I just remember there being a lot of cactus on the lawn. I mean, it looks like cactus. I think it's more for scale than anything else, and I recall there being a little pond with like lily pads, I think. I have to look up a reference. And then just kind of staying in the same hue, just different values. To do these clusters. It's always nice to have a little bit of that variation when you're drawing things in clusters. B says art class was fun in school, but the struggle for procrastination or being too slow for the deadline was shared. Yeah. I know, procrastination. It can be your friend or your enemy. it can be your friend in that, like, we're really motivated by deadlines, procrastination mostly. And I know I am. Like, there's nothing that motivates me more than having a deadline. And in some ways, it's almost like it saves me time. So for example, when I take commissions and it's like holiday rush and I have some people who, you know, failed to plan and they have this great idea. They want to surprise their wife and, you know, they commission me to paint a portrait. And I'm like, dude, you're giving me 3 days to paint a portrait. And I don't like the pictures you've sent me, right? First of all, I can charge a lot more. If you're going to ask me so late, then I have to kind of put my other projects on the side, right? So sometimes when other people procrastinate, you profit. You can charge whatever you want. So, you know, see the positive. So, yeah, I charged a guy, I think it was like $800 to do a portrait of their cat for their wife. And took me about 2 hours. I thought, oh, okay, well, if I hadn't procrastinated, right, maybe it would have taken me 5 hours. But because, you know, I didn't have that much time, I was motivated by that deadline and it was a lot more profitable as a commission. So procrastination can be good. If you guys haven't downloaded your terms of service, we have a freebie on our Discord. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you join the Discord or follow us on social because we will be reposting it at some point and you can grab it so that when you take commissions, you can protect yourself. So you can set terms for yourself. Oh, there's a lot of complexity kind of going on here. It looked simple, but it was not. And I'm like trying not to focus too much on the details because it's only going to cost me more time. Especially when I have to choose the colors manually. Oh my gosh. I saw this artist once who was so smart. I've never seen anybody paint like this, but he was an oil painter, very successful landscape painter based in Ottawa. And I saw him painting live one time, and you get so much information from watching people paint live. But he was painting live, and I saw him pre-mix the colors for his entire painting. And it was like, he used a limited color palette. It was beautiful, like really beautiful. And he pre-mixed all of his colors with a palette knife. And then it took him like as long to pre-mix the color than it did for him to paint it, like just to put it on. So it was incredible watching him plan the whole thing. And I'm like, it made me think like, wow, I'm a much more intuitive painter. So let me know in the chat if you're more intuitive or if you're more strategic. Like if you're an intuitive painter, for example, you would just kind of jump around a little bit like me. Jump around, see kind of what you need to work on, versus like if you're someone who is more strategic, you know, you work on one section at a time. You might do all your line art and then work your way down and kind of have a set method to working. That is the complete opposite of how I work. I'm a lot more chaotic, but I have a lot more fun that way. And it kind of leaves room for surprises. I love surprises. Intuitive, strategic. Like, okay, so I'm not saying you can't do both. Like, I think a lot of intuition is just based on experience, right? So if you want to say, like, if you're maybe less experienced, then you're probably more intuitive, like jumping around. But if you have more experience, then maybe you have a method that works, which then allows you to kind of go off method, right? And try new things. But you can always kind of default back to the method that works for you. Like, I have to be a lot more strategic when I'm doing commission work because I have to stay on task. Oh gosh, there's this umbrella that I gotta paint. Ugh. How much detail do I want to put in this? How do I make it look like a boat with an umbrella on top without outlining stuff? Let's try the lasso tool. Yeah, let's try that and see how it goes. Right, so for stuff like this, like it is relying on intuition, what's worked before. And then making sure I have enough contrast. Woo, I have 10 minutes left, guys. Okay, that's good enough. Yeah. Good enough. Jesse likes to say that. Good enough is better than perfect. It's a great quote. Good enough is better than perfect. We strive for perfection. I think it's a trait of all artists. And sometimes it bites us in the butt. Hey, Broken Wing Zeal, welcome. So what is Impressionism as a style? That's a good question. Impressionism, I kind of talked about it in the beginning, but basically Impressionism started, if you missed the story, the movement started after the invention of tubed paint. So when tubed paint was invented, it allowed artists to paint on location in plein air, right? And so that actually changed the process for a lot of artists, because then, You know, instead of having to mix their paint at home and put it in jars and only be able to paint in the studio, artists were suddenly able to paint from anywhere and carry their paints with them. And so it was actually a game changer. And this is in the style of Van Gogh. And Impressionism is really like the goal of Impressionism is to not capture the what. Like, what is it that I'm painting? Oh, I'm painting a bridge. But it's more to capture the feeling or the essence of something, right? So the goal of it isn't the what, it's the essence, or it's the feeling of something. So that's why it can be blurry, it can be non-descriptive, it can be a little bit messy. As long as it's kind of capturing the feeling, then it's fine. So I'm trying to capture the feeling, the playfulness of Adventure Time without it being too serious. So that's kind of the goal. I mean, you can probably still tell it's Adventure Time, especially if you watch the show. But it's a very, very popular art movement. However, it wasn't popular when it first came out. When it first came out, critics were just all over the artists, saying that they couldn't paint, you know, calling it I'll just say that Van Gogh was way ahead of his time. Just way ahead of his time. And sadly, I think he only sold like one piece in his entire life for like a dime. And dear Van Gogh, his estate is very wealthy, but he actually did not make enough money to even survive. His biggest patron was his brother, who bought a lot of his artwork and tried to represent him. And that's kind of where a lot of the starving artist notion came from, is really from Van Gogh's struggles. But like we talked about earlier, right? There's no better time than to be an artist today. Like, there's no better time. There's so much opportunity, so much abundance for artists. Like, so many, if you want to be a independent creator, if you want to be an animator, right? Like, there's so many games and so many shows right now that it's hard to make a decision about what to play. And I think that is something that we should remember. Like, we're so lucky that most people, when Van Gogh was alive, most people didn't buy art. Nowadays, anybody can buy art, right? Anybody can collect art. Anybody can appreciate art. Anybody can use it, like whether it's printed on a t-shirt or whether it's in your favorite show, or you buy a keychain, or, you know, there's just so many ways that you can support artists now, and so many ways to make money from art and be appreciated for it. So many different niches. It's actually quite incredible. Okay, so what else can I channel here in Van Gogh's art? What can I do? I always ask myself when there's like 5 minutes left into this stream. 5 more minutes. What can I do that's gonna make the biggest amount of impact right now with this piece? So let's zoom way out. Zoom way out. I mean, I could add some more clouds to the sky, but I don't think that's gonna make or break it. Any suggestions, chat? Yeah, Oh, Castle, you finished your piece. Great. Congrats. Post it on the Discord. I'd love to see it. Hidden Tides Gaming. We learned a lot from people like Van Gogh, Picasso, etc. Not for the art side, but also the dangers of working with dangerous substances. Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. Hot air balloon. Oh, that's a good idea. Birds in the sky. Sure. Sure, we could do some birds in the sky. Let's see. I remember there being bodies of water. Like, I remember there's a little pond. I think there's like a... yeah, I think there's a pond somewhat here with some lily pads. Oh my gosh, we're not even going to be able to see it. Let's put some lily pads on. Let's see how quickly we can do these lily pads. Little pond there. I want to put a lot of detail on the like in the foreground so that I can have more depth, right? So I might add a bit of a highlight here, just shift my values. A little bit of that highlight, and then shifting my color to this like golden brown, and just adding a little bit of lighting onto the edge of the trees. All right. So, I think, unfortunately, we are out of time. I'm looking at the... I really want to redo this roof. It's like, oh my gosh. I look at it and it just looks so unfinished. But, c'est la vie. Whoops. I think as long as you get the gist of it, you get the essence of what's going on, I think that's all Impressionism. That's like the goal of Impressionism, right? Is to really just capture the essence. If you capture the essence, then that's really the goal of this movement. Yeah, but if you didn't know, our mission at Wing Canvas is to make art education easily accessible to everyone. So you can join us for live stream lessons on YouTube every week and level up your skills with our community of art nerds. So we're actually streaming every Monday night, Eastern time, and Saturday afternoon. So plenty of time to join in for free. And We're more than just a YouTube channel. We're an online school of illustration and visual storytelling dedicated to helping artists turn their passion into income. So huge shout out to our amazing students and members for supporting our mission. We love seeing your incredible artwork and watching you grow in our classes and weekly critiques. So if you want to dive deeper, join our Discord. Our team lives on Discord, and you'll be able to access stream notes and demos, get exclusive art challenges and freebies, and lots of resources to help you improve. So come and connect with fellow art nerds and get inspired. You can also join us on Instagram. If you don't do Discord, Instagram is always a good one. And if you're painting along with me, say hello and tag us at Wing Canvas so that we can actually see the cool stuff that you're making. Don't forget to submit your artwork to the challenge, to the monthly challenge. This month is all about landscape art, and so our streams are also designed to help you make really cool landscapes. So if you've been painting along with me, definitely share it on the Discord or tag us at Winged Canvas. All right, guys, it was really fun today. I mean, there's so much more that I want to do, as always, I'm sure. But a very wise artist once said, "A painting is never finished. It only stops in interesting places." All right, guys, have yourself a good evening, and we'll see you on Saturday. Bye.